So, firstly, I will apologize because I know this is not going to be the highest quality video, but it's something that I wanted to share relatively quickly. If you're looking at the screen right now, you can see that, or you might recognize, I should say, that this is part of the setup for installing Windows 11. And right now, it's doing what I wish it would not do, is tell me that I need to connect to a network. For decades now, we've been able to install Windows without having to connect to the internet. That goes all the way up through Windows 10, and I think towards the tail end of it, they started making it mandatory for users, whether it's home or professional, to connect to the internet. I forget exactly which order and when, whatever. But here we are with Windows 11, and I have to connect to the internet to go forward. Now, as you can see, or you might be questioning, well, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to select? And that would be a good question, because normally what would happen is in this general area, the list of available Wi-Fi networks would pop up. But what appears to be the case in this situation is the vanilla install of Windows 11 on this Dell Precision 5470. The install doesn't have the correct drivers for the Wi-Fi card that's installed in here. So that's issue number 2, really. Issue number 1 was making me connect to the network. Issue number 2 is that, hey, look, there aren't the right drivers in here to be able to actually connect to a Wi-Fi network. Now, in years of yesterday or yesteryear, we would just say, okay, we'll just plug in an Ethernet port. Now, I'm not going to go to both sides of this machine, but believe me when I tell you, this laptop has 4 USB-C ports, 1 headphone jack. Oh, and also a micro SD card reader. And that's it. So the option to plug into an Ethernet jack isn't an option natively when it comes to this machine. So that's issue number 3 right there. How am I supposed to go forward with this installation when the operating system doesn't have what I need to go forward and the hardware itself doesn't have everything that I need to go forward? What are you supposed to do? Now, I will say I've looked online, and yes, you can type something in at the command prompt that allows you to skip this step, but most people aren't going to do that. Okay, I mean, it's essentially telling the machine to not connect to network, go on, boot up or whatever, so that way you can just create a local account instead of having to use your Microsoft account. But the solution that I have, which most people also won't have, is one of these little guys. So this is a USB-C, and I do apologize that the lighting is terrible. This is a USB-C to, there it is, to RJ45 dongle, which will work, and I have used it before. But the whole point really right now is just that there are these obstacles put in place that just don't need to be there when it comes to something as simple as installing an operating system. You might say, well, yes, I know, but just because Apple does it doesn't mean that it's right. For both the Mac and the iPhone, you need to connect to a network before you can go forward with the setup process. So as far as I'm concerned, this is terrible. This is a step backwards. And of course, okay, just making sure that wasn't a crack on my screen. And of course, when you're going through this process, Microsoft is trying to sell you stuff. So it's not surprising that they're doing this, but it's just really, really annoying. So I don't know how you feel. And I know a lot of people, yes, 1, don't own one of these guys. 2, probably will never have to see this screen. But there are plenty of people who end up having or choosing to install a new SSD in one of their machines. And if this is the case for you, you're going to end up at this particular screen, at least with this device. I've had this exact same issues with a few other Dells. Lenovo's, for the most part, have been okay, but for some reason, these Dell drivers, I don't know if it's an Intel driver or what's that other brand? I forget the name of the brand. Killer. I don't know if it's a killer Wi-Fi card on there or what, but yeah, for some reason, it's just not going forward the way that it should, or the drivers are not a part of the image. So yeah, just not happy. I mean, obviously, like I said, I have the solution to go forward, but it's just more frustration. It's something that is not needed. And yeah, the reason I bought one of these a long time ago is because I was getting used to the fact that USB-A ports or Ethernet jacks were going away. And of course, I'm a huge fan of USB-C, the versatility that it provides. But when you're hit with something like this, it makes you question whether or not we should be using these thin and light laptops that don't have these ports and end up having us to, live that dongle life. And you can't see it over there, but I did buy a USB-C hub today, and I'll probably talk about that at a later date. But for now, that's all that I have.